Hello, my name is Raymaryln Curtis, and I live at 3016 Parkside Drive, and I have lived there since June 10th, 1974, when my parents first moved us in. We came from East Baltimore. It was my mom, my stepdad, me, and my sister. When we first got here, I was very young. I was in the fifth grade going to the sixth grade, and it was just in the middle of desegregation. And so my mother continued to let me go to the school I would have transferred based on my address where we were coming from. So we moved here and we loved it. Big family. We all went to Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. Very close-knit family. My grandparents just kept us all together. We went on family vacations to Atlantic City. My mom wanted to get out of the neighborhood we were in. It wasn't a particularly bad neighborhood. We moved up north and she wanted a single family home. We had lived in a row house. I lived on Gorsuch Avenue. It's right behind City College High School. And I went to Abbaston Elementary School, school number 50. When desegregation happened, we were transferred to Waverly. When we moved here to Parkside Drive, I caught the bus. So my mom was a nurse, a psychiatric nurse down the University of Maryland. We were the first Black family to move into the neighborhood. There was one family that lived up on Harford Terrace. We didn't know them. We never made friends with them. But down on our blocks and going north, we were the first Black family to move into the neighborhood. My mother being a nurse, we had always interacted with other races because everybody works in a hospital. And so my mother had very good both Black and white friends, and they would always come to our house. Our neighbors to the west of us were very, very friendly, but our neighbor directly to the east of us was very prejudiced. He never spoke. He kind of growled. His wife, though, when he was away, she and my mom would have tea together, be in the yard chatting it up. So she was nothing like him. When I think about my lineage and how far back, I can remember them. My grandfather was born in 1910. We saw pictures of his mom and dad. And my grandfather was a twin. So that's what makes him so great, because I was the next person in that line to have twins. So I was like so excited. We hear more though about my grandmother's parents because her father was a school teacher and her mother was a domestic. I know that they're from Farmville, Virginia, because we would go back to family reunions every year to Farmville. They would show us where they went to school, their little schoolhouse, and we still own property there. Our grandparents were educators as far as church is concerned. He was a Baptist deacon, and the Bible was his instruction manual, and so those are the things that they taught us most. My grandparents migrated here from Virginia. My mom was only 9 months old, and he brought her and her brothers by himself up to Baltimore to find them a house, and he did, and they lived on Barclay off of 25th Street, the three-story row houses there. So he came here for a better job. He worked for Sparrows Point. We thought that they had a very good life. I mean, it was commensurate with other people in the area. We went to their house every Sunday after church for dinner. So there was never a lack of food. To me, maybe upper or lower middle class families, I can tell you that we were happy with what we had. My peers thought we were more upper class because the schools I went to, remember we talked about desegregation, I went to Hamilton, and that was when kids were being bused from below North Avenue up to Hamilton, and so they would kind of tease me like, oh, you think you're better than us because you live in a big house. I did get into arguments and things like that because of where I lived. I lived across from Raymaryln Park, and at that time they had the flowing fountain water in the park that we could go and drink, and the swings and Montebello Lake and the trails and all that. So I did not let that bother me, but I never wished that I lived anywhere but where I live. High schools were open. I actually went to Paul Laurence Dunbar. I wanted to be in healthcare like my mom was. She did not want me to go all the way down there because in her mind, we move all the way up here. Why do you want to go all the way down there to go to high school? But it was all about healthcare. Educational opportunities were open to us, especially with Morgan State University being right up the street, which is where I went. And my mother always encouraged it. I went to camp at Morgan State. Every summer they would have a camp. I remember the Columbus Day Parade. We would have the parade that would come down Harford Road and it would end right in front of our house where the Columbus Monument is. It was wonderful. I remember the ice cream trucks trying to find parking space and always coming to our house, and they were like, hey, we'll give you $20 if you let us park in your driveway. And my stepdad was like, okay, that's good. And I always got a free ice cream, so that was always a good part of the deal. I remember Northwood Shopping Center when they had a store that was called the Heck Company. My mother giving me her credit card and letting me go shopping. They had a Woolworths there when we first moved here, had since shut down. And so you always heard the stories about the sit-ins at Woolworths. And so that was, pretty interesting part of history. I remember skipping rocks. I did that way, way late in life. One time, people from work came, and my friend, she was Filipino, and one of my friends was Jamaican. And so we were pretending that we were in the Olympics, skipping rocks, and we would go along and walk across the rocks. It was fun. Just to see a freshwater stream, you don't see that in the city usually. We lived in a part of the city that wasn't like the city. It was very nice to be living in the Laurelville community.